morning. Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Woodstock. It's so good to see you. More and more people are coming back. It feels really good in here to have actual live people to talk to. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. Welcome back, everyone.
Thank you for taking the time to actually move yourself out into space, to be in the sanctuary, to bless it with your presence, bless it with who you are and the gift that you are. We're grateful that you decided to join us this morning. Let's go ahead and begin with a prayer. Let's take a deep breath. Divine life that is springing forth all around me in the green that I see, the buds that are showing up on the branches, the life that is moving as people come out into their yards and out onto the walks, greeting one another and saying, "It's good to see you." Thank you for the new connections and the reconnections to those that we know and perhaps have lost touch with over these last months. Thank you for the opportunity to be in this place together, in this time together. If you can't be physically here, we know that you are here in heart and spirit. Thank you for the trust that we have in all of this working through to our highest good. Thank you for the love that powers every moment and every breath that we take. We're so grateful for all of it, and so it is. Amen. Wow, what a great day. It feels so good to be here. I'm just so excited.
I can tell. I like your prayer that these green buds we see and the life that we see coming back is a metaphor for the life that wants to come back in us and the renewal that's always happening.
I agree.
Nicely done. Thank you.
I agree. So let's go ahead and start with our 5 unity principles. This is the foundation of how we are in the world.
You know, we might want to introduce ourselves first. I'm just
should
saying.
we?
Yeah.
Oh,
Good
gee.
idea.
You catch
Hey,
me
I'm
on
Reverend
that
Tom, and I'm here assisting our spiritual leader.
I am Marypatriece Wendt. I am the spiritual leader here. Thank you so much for reminding me of this.
I'm like the little bird on your shoulder that sings to you in the morning.
Singing, I'm not sure if I would qualify it as that, but it is pretty close to something.
I might agree with you.
Let's go ahead and start with our 5 unity principles. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good omnipotence. The Christ Spirit lives within me. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. I experience God's presence and power through prayer and meditation. I put my faith into action by demonstration. Wow, thank you for being here. Unity Spiritual Center is part of a movement that is more spiritual than religious. We know that you are born with that spark of God, that divine nature is already in you. And we honor that as we work together to bring it out more. We trust that there's a piece of you that knows what's good and what's right for you. And what we try to do here is introduce you to the tools that help bring it out more, whatever that might be. It could be a special ritual each day. It could be a special prayer. Perhaps it's just waking up and smiling at the sun or going for a walk. That might be your communion with God. But we know that you have an internal guidance system that knows the way, and all we try to do is provide you opportunities to explore some new ones that might also support you. So we're here to support you in your journey of unfolding. Anything you want to add?
I think that about covers it. Nicely done. Thank you.
So also, too, we want to be mindful and grateful for all that you do to support this ministry. Thank you for the gifts that you continue to share. Thank you for the idea, the knowing that each moment that you provide that gift to us, it allows us to continue to do what we do. We are self-supporting. We don't receive any support from any other establishment or organization. What comes in is what we operate from. And we've been very blessed to be able to make it through this past year. It's been a huge gift. And it's a huge sign of the support and the belief that you have in knowing that this is a way of living. It's a way of being. So if you'd like to take out your gift for today, if you're at home, go ahead and hold your gift in your mind. We're going to bless it together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. For those of you who are here, there is a little basket at the end of the aisle, if you wouldn't mind dropping that in on your way out as we continue on. And if you're at home, just click on that tab for us. I'm so excited that we have Lori here, Lori Gray Muligano, our music leader. She's always here supporting us with the most perfect music ensembles. And we have George Muligano on our tech team, and Joe Joswiak also assisting, and Kim Joswiak, who is also supporting our online Facebook presence. Thank you so much for all you do. This is a dream that we've been dreaming of for quite a while, and I know George especially has had this in his mind for a long time, and it's being realized because of you, so thank you for that. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Lori. Thank you.
Increase my faith in the things I cannot see, in the things I cannot prove, yet I choose to believe when my confidence fades. I pray, oh, increase my faith, increase my faith, open my mind to the things I need to know, the thoughts I need to hold, and the ones I can't let go. Help me be wise, see the world through others' eyes. Open my mind, open my mind, peaceful and free, that's how I want to be. The gift I need to give to the people I meet. Let each of us sing our own harmony. Oh, peaceful and free. Peaceful and free. is your dream? Hold that dream in your mind and remember, anything is possible when you believe. What's your dream that sometimes seems impossible? Let the voices fade that tell you it's improbable. Hold on to what you love. Hold on to what you love. You will be unstoppable. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Believe. Believe.
Good morning again, dear friends. What a joy it is to lead us all in guided meditation. And so I invite wherever you are, at home, here in the sanctuary, to simply relax into that which is supporting you, both physically and spiritually. Simply relax. This is our time to listen to that voice that may speak to us as a whisper in the trees or the thunder of the seas. The voice of Spirit in each of us. Breathe into that voice. Breathe into Spirit. Allow our bodies to relax into breath and into spirit. And to listen for the voice. Hello, child. What a wonderful day you have in store for you. Hear the voice that whispered to you to come to the spiritual center this morning, or tune in on Facebook. Our divine wisdom guiding us, as it always will. Listen, my child. I have good things in store for you today. Just listen. I invite us to put our hand on our chest and allow our hand to listen to the divine heartbeat within us. What is your heart guiding you to do today? Listen to ourselves breathe the breath of life. How will I use that breath today? Today we may rightly imagine ourselves as the divine expression of all creation. And all we need do is listen. Just listen. Today is a day that the voice of inspiration guides us throughout. Our heartbeat and the air we breathe allow our bodies to demonstrate our divinity openly to all whose lives we touch. Thank you, sweet Spirit, for this life, for your voice in me, guiding me to my highest good. I give thanks. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love it when you give meditations. And I do love it when you sing to me. So I stood unmoving as my older brother kept assuring me that his plan would work. Just remember that. The sun was streaming in the window, and we were the only one in the bedroom. And he had tied a thread around my wiggly tooth and the other side to the open door. He was always coming up with ways to help out. Don't worry, it's gonna work. Trust me. It'll only take a second. And then, when the tooth fairy comes, remember to share half the cost with me. Something told me that this wasn't a very good idea, but I trusted my brother. Shouldn't I? I closed my eyes and I waited. Trust puts me on the cusp of possibility.
Well, I believe in trusting God. Sometimes it may not be a good idea to trust your brother. I'm just saying. The title of the Quest chapter this week that we're speaking on is Trusting God. And it states that God has a plan just for you. I confess, as I have in the past, I struggle with the idea that God has a specific plan just for me. I find difficulty in standing behind the idea that God always has the perfect answer for every situation, as suggested in the quest, and should therefore be trusted to reveal the right plan for me at the right time. Those teachings confirm to me, as I have stated in the past, that sometimes New Thought teachings are ideas that apply to the affluent, to those who have their basic needs met. So I'm talking about those who enjoy adequate food and water and shelter and safety and education and finances. So for those of us, when the furnace unexpectedly goes out and we spend a day without heat, or when a family blow-up occurs at a holiday party, or when we lose a job we've held for years, those may be times to trust in God and say, okay, God has a plan here. I'll hang in there. I know everything happens for a purpose. Divine order, it will all work out. I get that. Conversely, according to the Council on Foreign Relations, there are currently, right now, 17 wars being fought on this planet of either a critical or significant level, plus others that don't quite meet those criteria. Do we say to the civilian victims of those wars who see their children terrorized by the sights and sounds of war, or perhaps even lose their children to the violence, do we say to them, God has the perfect answer just for you? According to the website Global Citizen, in 2019, 80 million people were forcibly displaced by war, conflict, persecution, and violence. 80 million. Do we say to those 80 million people, there is divine order to things here, trust God as the source of all your good? The recent Texas blackout produced headlines of people not having heat for days, or power, or even drinkable water. People living in freezing temperatures. And how awful it was. And it was. I'm not minimizing that. And what if, as the result of war or generational poverty, you lived your entire life that way, with no hope whatsoever of change? You just need to trust God and know there's a plan for you? Should you know that God has the perfect answer for you and should be trusted? In all of those examples for me, those responses just don't get it. I don't feel that that's what trusting God is about. And I confess, I don't know what the answer is. I don't have it. But for me, the answer is not, don't worry, just trust that God has the perfect plan for you. I do trust that the authors of the quest, Mary Ellis and Richard Jaffola, don't take those examples I've given lightly. And yet, as I stated earlier, my first statement was, I believe in the idea of trusting God. How can I say that?
Well, I hear what you're saying. And, I feel the dilemma you're feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think, I feel that trusting God isn't necessarily someone out here. Mm-hmm. My belief is that we are in partnership with God, mm-hmm. and that we make a difference when we act in partnership with God. And I want to give you an example of that. I could give a personal example, but I'd rather give you one that has a more historical foundation that actually is true. If you could go back in time and meet Isaac and Sarah Harvey of Ohio in 1862, you would know that they were a very simple Quaker couple. Isaac was out in the field behind his horses, and he was dragging the plow, turning over the dirt. Totally into his job, totally into that moment with his animals on his land. And he heard a voice. And the voice said, "Go to Washington and meet with the president." So he unhitched his horses. He put them and tended to them in the barn. He went into his wife in the house and said, "Will you go with me to Washington?" And she said, "Who's calling you to do this?" And he said, "God." And she said, "Okay, let's go." They had never been to Washington before. So they took the train. They get off this train. They have no idea where they are, where anything is. They see a man across the street standing next to a lamppost. And they go up to him and ask for directions and ask for information. Well, he gets to know them a little bit through their conversation and realizes that they're from Ohio. And they're Quakers, and he served as a governor of Ohio at one point in time, not too far from where they lived. On top of it, he just happened to be the Secretary of Treasury. So he helped them find lodging and get settled and everything. He says, "I'm going to make an appointment for you with the president, President Lincoln at the time." So the next day, they went up to the White House. They waited outside the office, and they're thinking, "Oh my goodness, we're here. We're outside the president's office." And they're hearing the news coming in, because right now the Civil War is raging. And they're hearing the news and thinking, "Oh my gosh, he may not have time to talk with us." But at the time they were scheduled to see him, he came out of his office and brought them in. They sat down and met with him for 30 minutes. And there is a note that is signed by Abraham Lincoln, a historical note that documents this, thanking them for ministering to him and to spend that time. And the conversation that they had together actually became part of the Emancipation Proclamation. The idea that the government, to help the South buy into ending slavery, was to pay them for these slaves so that they could now move forward. It is historical truth. So he listened and made a difference for many people in a war. One farmer from Ohio that listened to that voice. For me, I know that God speaks to me, and whatever message I receive is in a perfect message for my situation. The question is, will I follow it? Would I have done the same thing and gone to Washington? Would I have done that or said, "Why me? There's nobody who's going to listen to me. Why would I do something like that, and would that really work?" Trust puts me on the cusp of possibility.
See, I like that. I like the idea of by trusting God, like trusting my divine intuition that says, you need to do this. I can imagine a guy out plowing his field, a farmer, saying, and hearing the voice, "Go to Washington." It reminds me of Moses standing before the burning bush, God saying, "You need to go save your people." He says, "Who, me?" It's hard to listen sometimes. I get that. Well, in the Gospel of Luke, and only in the Gospel of Luke, Jesus shares a story that we call the Good Samaritan. He said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among robbers. They stripped him and beat him and left him for half dead. And by chance, a priest was coming down the road, and when the priest saw him, he moved over to the other side. And likewise, a Levite also. A Levite is a priestly assistant, so it would be an authority person in the church. A Levite also, when he came to that place and saw him, passed by on the other side. In the book of Numbers, which is part of the Pentateuch, which defines Jewish law, it says, "Whoever touches the dead body of anyone will be unclean for 7 days." In Leviticus chapter 5, it says, "Or if he touches human uncleanliness, anything that would make him unclean, even if he is unaware of it, once he becomes aware of it, he's unclean." So if I screwed up 2 weeks ago and I think, oops, I shouldn't have done that, from that moment on, for 7 days, I'm unclean. And what that means in that culture is, for 7 days, these synagogue authorities would not be able to minister. They'd have to go through a purification rites. But a Samaritan who was on a journey came upon him, and when he saw him, he felt compassion. And he came to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them. And he put him on his own beast and brought him to an inn and took care of him. On the next day, he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper and said, "Here, take these, spend these on this person, and if there's more to be paid, I will pay you on my return." Trusting God. I suggest trusting God is listening to our innate call. It's just there, in my opinion, to be at one with each other and to be there for each other. I believe, however, that we call it the Christ guidance within, that is to support our brothers and sisters and be there for each other, has been diluted, perverted, and convoluted by our fears and prejudices and generations of mistrust and judgment. I believe, though, it is there. And we don't know what that priest and that Levite were saying to themselves, do we? As they saw this victim and said, "Whoops, I need to go over here." Maybe they said, "I'd really like to help this guy." But my teachings tell me not to. Perhaps they said to themselves, "I really want to help. I'm so sorry for this man, but I'll trust God and obey God's law." The Samaritan would not have held those beliefs and trusted God, the Christ calling within him, and went to the aid of another human being. I like that form of trusting God. In recent weeks, we have talked about authenticity. And where are we open to being divinely authentic, really following the calling within us? Where are we willing to set our gaze on being on the good, on serving God, which in my opinion is serving each other? As stated last week, it's our nature to give. It's our nature to do that. And last week, my question to all of us was, what are you going to do to help the person next to us? I'm wondering if those of us who are fortunate enough to live in the necessities and more, those of us who might be considered affluent, may be more willing to trust God, more willing to listen to that voice that says, "Here's what you need to do here." That is the divine calling of helping our brothers and sisters. Trusting God, to me, is listening to the same Spirit as did the Samaritan. Supporting others in need, standing with those experiencing life as a difficult time instead of a relatively easy time. Not walking on the other side of the road, and perhaps sharing our goldfish crackers with them.
I agree with you. I loved how, there is that constant pull. Do I listen to what I'm hearing here or reading here as to what I should be doing, or am I listening to what's in here and responding to that? It can be very complicated. And for those church leaders, it could have easily become extremely complicated because they're affecting the whole congregation. And I think about that as a spiritual leader here. What am I doing? And how is that going to affect my congregation? So there may be so many more things to that story that we've never even considered. Trust puts me on the cusp of possibility. Possibilities that seem unattainable to me right now. But when you're aligned with an extraordinary power, you might meet the president. And the sky is the limit. Most importantly, spend time in that quiet. Let God speak to you and through you, and trust. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 15 says, "In quietness and in trust shall be your strength." Namaste.
Planting and pruning, waiting and watching, searching for some kind of sign. Weeding for hours while all the wildflowers thrive in the fields just fine. Often confused, singing the blues, I must be amusing to God. There are signs all around, every sight, every sound, works of God everywhere, answers waiting for prayers. If I just heard the call, I wouldn't be searching at all. Eyes on the road map, missing the street signs. Seems like I've been here before. I'm losing my bearings and cursing my fate. I can't trust myself anymore. Lost and confused, feeling abused. I must be amusing to God. There are signs all around, every sight, every sound, works of God everywhere, answers waiting for prayers. If I just heard the call, I wouldn't be searching at all. Whispering clues around me, but I don't hear a thing. Then in accidental stillness, I hear myself and God sing. There are signs all around, every sight, every sound, signs of God everywhere, answers waiting for prayers. Now that I hear the call, I'm no longer searching at all. that I hear the call. I'm no longer searching at all.
Thanks so much, Lori. We just have a few announcements. Please go ahead, if you are online, if you'd like to see more of these types of services, like or subscribe us, and then you'll be cued in. And if you're interested in finding out more of what's going on here in our ministry, we have smaller groups that talk more about things like this, that get into more of the meat of what do you do in certain situations? How are you going to operate? Who do you want to be? We have groups like that. We also have 12-step groups that meet here. Please feel free to check them out and email the leader of those groups. And we're not doing a Zoom meeting today. We're talking about bringing that back in the near future, but for today, we're going to encourage you to hang here if you're in the sanctuary, to visit, to discuss the talk today and your insights and your thoughts about that. We'd really appreciate if you stayed and visited, because we have missed seeing you. So welcome, everyone. We're so grateful that you are part of this ministry. Today, you've shared part of that, and you got to be part of our family for now. And we hope that we get to see you again, and that you are inspired and nurtured through all the things that go on here. So, with all of that, let's go ahead and end out with our prayer for protection.
Good idea.
Okay?
The
light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Have a great week.
Happy Sunday, everyone. I did not think of the priest and the Levite being in a congregation. The way the story has always sounded to me is these guys are kind of loners out there.